I wanted to be able to kind of brain dump as I walk through my herd to show you some of the things that I look for with these guys. Hey, so I wanted to do a video to try to help you guys to see kind of what I look for when I'm looking over my herd, looking for potential trouble and problem spots. And I want you to remember there's really two tools that are going to help you a ton. Your eyes in looking for problems, and also your ears. And so because we're likely not going to have an instance here where we're going to hear wet coughing or that sort of thing, and that's the main thing I listen for. So I want to kind of speak to that before we go through the herd. But I want to pay attention, especially as we're moving into spring, and if you're in the fall, that wet cough and one of the Achilles heels of goats is pneumonia, that you want to be listening for repetitive wet coughing. A wet cough is not all that uncommon, but a repetitive wet cough is, and it should instantly, when you hear that, you should think, okay, is that goat doing okay? Maybe take a temperature, take a little closer look. Do they have a snotty nose? Those sorts of things. But having a skilled eye at seeing problems in the early stages is a critical part of learning how to raise goats. So I'm just going to kind of take you through my herd and tell you the things I'm noticing as I'm looking at them going, oh, okay, there's this, I wonder what that is, that sort of thing. So initially, I always look for tails. And so I can see a fair amount of tails here. This goat's tail's nice, that goat's tail's nice, and what I'm looking for is I'm looking for fishtail. So there's an example of a little bit of fishtail over here. So when I'm looking at Raven, you can see that their end of her tail is kind of splayed this way, and so is Dolly's. But you can see that Raven's tail here is like this. Dolly's was even more. Now, when I look over the whole herd, I see a lot of really good tails, and a good tail looks like this, looks like this. Hi, sweetie. So you want a nice cone tail that comes out. That tells me that their mineral, along with their hair quality, I'm seeing a lot of smooth coats. So I'm seeing a nice smooth coat here. She's soft to the touch. Her hair is full. It's patterned well. Same with her. Hi, sweetie. How are you? Her hair looks really good. You know, go ahead and get up. So I'm going to kind of take a look at her. I'm going to look at her body. A lot of times in the winter, when they're in wet bedding, they'll end up with spots on their skin where bacteria infections, these warm, wet winters, that can be a real breeding ground for skin bacteria. So I want to check for that. These does are pregnant, so I'm looking to see if they're carrying their babies well. I'm also scanning the ground looking for clumpy poop or potential diarrhea. So that's something that when I kind of check the herd, I'm also looking for things like out the back end of the business, if we're getting any type of fluid coming out, those sorts of things. This, by the way, is something that I want to point out. If you come over here and look at this goat from behind, she is much bigger. Here, I'll pet her so you can get the shot. She's much bigger on this side than she is this side. And remember, this is the side of her rumen where they take in the initial food, and that side of it fills up more. So one of the things you want to, let me get her off of this. Hey, psst, psst. Hey, stop. Get out of there. One, get. So one of the things I'm noticing with Glitter is she does have a little bit more rough hair. Her tail looks nice. She's nice and soft to the touch, but this is an older doe, so I'm going to kind of watch her more closely. Sure, her temperament is good. She doesn't have a snotty nose. I'm not seeing any snotty noses out here. I'm not seeing any skin things that are causing me alarm at all. And by the way, these guys just got their multi-min shot last week because I was beginning to notice some fishtail in the doe herd, and I'm already seeing that decreased versus last week. So coming out and just getting an idea, I'm checking udders, I'm looking for poop. By the way, something to know, this is a low-level form of goat diarrhea. a goat pile should look like this, and it should look like this. These are bedding piles. So the doe was bedded right here, and she was pooping as she was bedded. This looks more like a fill pile, but I can see this bed right here, and this goat has kind of borderline diarrhea. When it gets clumpy like that, that tells me something. And this might cause me potentially, and I know which doe it is, it's Daisy. And Daisy also had one of the higher cases of barber pole worm when we were dealing with that this summer. So now that I'm seeing a little clumpy poop out of her, it might cue me to go, hey, maybe I should send in some of these poop samples and see how her barber pole worm load is, and see if we lost ground or made ground. Because remember, all these does are pregnant, and you know, their systems are being taxed. So that's kind of some stuff I'm seeing here. I'm also noticing, hi Harry, it's okay. I'm noticing that Harry has some speckles on her nose. She has a tendency to have a repetitive bacteria that will show up on her lips and her mouth, and occasionally I have to use chlorhexidine and get it cleaned up, and then she cleans up for 6 or 8 months, and then all of a sudden it kind of reappears. So this is one of the things that shows up for her. And so if we can get kind of these guys are all they just got their shot, so they're thinking I'm going to catch them and go give them another shot. And so maybe you can move in and see her nose. So you can see it's not bad. It's not to the point where I'm like, oh my God, it's not ORF. It's none of those things. It's just she has a tendency towards a skin irritation that shows up around her lips and nose, and with a little chlorhexidine, it cleans right up. So these are the type of things I'm going to look for. I'm also going to check some hooves, kind of see how everybody's doing. I wasn't really looking at hooves because I know we just trimmed their hooves not too long ago, but it's nice to do a check-in. I look for wounds, and I do have one older doe, Cello, who we have been fixing a skin bacteria she had on her hips, and these older does are more prone towards that type of stuff. Hi, sweetie. So let's go look at Cello and see how she's doing. I'm also, with these does, I'm looking at their udders to make sure, because we've taken everybody out of milk, and have they retracted well? Are they still holding fluid? This is Cello, and Cello looks to be coming back quite well. So she has still a little bald patch because it takes a while for the hair to come back, but she has no more crusty skin. So I know I have the skin bacteria solved. Her hair quality is decent, but I'm going to pull her out, and also, yeah, see, the hair's coming back now. So these kind of things show up, especially on these older does, but the crusty, scabby stuff is gone, and now this is healing up and she's coming back. Come here, sweetie. Cello, come here, hon. Okay, so Cello is one who will show issues earlier than others because she's so old. Cello's, I'm guessing 11 or 12. Her teeth are starting to wear out. Okay, so here's some of that stuff around the nose that can show up in some of these guys. So see how she has this crusty stuff right here? So I'm going to look at that, and in my opinion right now, and you can see she has some older stuff right here. So what we'll do is we'll do the same thing with this. We'll use chlorhexidine. We'll go in and kind of rough that up and clean it up. And this is a doe that needs a little bit of attention. And those are the sort of things that I'm going to look for. So the last one I kind of want to check out over here is these juveniles. They're pregnant right now, 2 of them are. And just make sure that their body condition looks good, that they're carrying weight. I don't have any skinny does. I don't have does that I'm concerned about their hair quality. You know, the herd looks really good. This doe right here is a little bit rougher than I like, but I'm not positive if that was from me trying to get this off of her. It was, that's right. I was trying to get this off of the chickens. We'll scratch up, but this is an example of a doe with a little rougher coat. So she is one who probably needed the multi-min shot. You can see she's got a little bit of fishtail. And so she's a doe that's showing that her mineral health isn't quite where I want it, but remember, we just gave multi-min last week. So I would check her probably again in another week and make sure she's looking good. And we will keep an eye on that. But that's the roughest coated doe out of all of them. Everybody else looks super good. So let's run over to the weather pen and see what we have over there. Now we're in the weather pen, which has a little bit different complexity because these guys, I'm growing up babies. I also have bucklings in here that we just cut their scrotums off about 5 days ago. So each one of these guys that I cut their scrotums off, I'm just gonna take a look and see how they're doing. And he's doing good. He looks a little dirty there. He'd be one that I potentially am going to clean that, but I want to see what the other ones look like as well. I'm not concerned about infection or that that's looking bad, but let me look at this guy too. Just check you out. He's about the same. So what they've been doing is they've been licking themselves. That's why it looks kind of wet. Let me see you, monkey. Are you doing it too? Yeah, he's doing it too. So what I'm going to do, now that I've checked these guys, I'm going to come in. Hi, guys. Sorry, just rough you up with no love. Is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to spray iodine on all 3 of these guys just to give them a little bit of preventative care. I'm not concerned that any of them have any type of infection or those sorts of things. And then I'm assessing these guys' body mass. When they're really hairy like this, one of the fastest ways to feel whether your goats are skinny is to pet down their back line, because you're going to feel their spines. And these guys, I'm happy with how they're carrying their body weight. Nobody's skinny. This guy's just a little thin, but I think he's that by nature. I think that's what he does. And they also just went through castration, which can be a little bit of an event. But in this situation, everybody's carrying the weight that I would hope, except for him. But again, I think he's just a kind of a naturally skinnier goat. Remember, goats are fat and skinny just like you and me. There's fat humans and skinny humans naturally, and they'll follow that. So let's step into the weather pen. So, by the way, you guys, a little report on Blade here. Blade is the one that we did the horn repair on. So he's rubbed his horn so thin that he was breaking through the wall. Come here, Blader, come here. And so you can see that his horns, that it's a hoof repair, and you can refer back to the other video that I did on this, and it's doing really well. Still on there really good. He's not losing much, if any of it, but this is doing good. And then as far as Blade goes, his hair's a little bit roughed up. He's got a big, thicker coat though. He's kind of woolly, but I'm not super impressed with his hair quality. It's good, but not great. Slick is an example of an old goat that is going to show more of this just because he's old. He's struggling more in the winter. He's almost 10 now. And Slick is one that I would look at his coat and go, his coat isn't that great. But also remember, we just gave these guys multi-min only about 3 or 4 days ago. I think if I come out in about another week, their hair quality is going to change and be better, simply because the multi-min has had a chance to take an effect. So let's look at some of these other guys. Hi, buddy. How are you? How are you? You're such a good boy. Come here, you. This guy's a scaredy cat. We've been working on him to get him loved up. The other thing, hi, pal, you need a peanut, don't you? The other thing that with the amount of La Manchas that we have, a lot of times during the winter, they'll have a tendency for yeast infections in their ear. And so I'm also checking for that. Let's get you up, Ledoux. Come on, up. Come on, up. Good boy. Good boy. Ledoux looks good. I don't see anything concerning on him. Hair quality is decent. These guys' hair quality is not as good as the does. I can tell that they got the multi-min shot later just because I'm seeing consistently not quite as good a hair quality. Here's another thing I'm going to look at though that I just noticed, which is Blade has black around his penis sheath. And this is the time of year where they can get urine scald. And so I'm gonna need to get him on the stand to look at it, and we'll see if that's what it is. Yeah, so he has a little bit of urine scald. And so let's talk about urine scald. I haven't seen it in a while. It happens in the winter, and you're gonna see it right around the base of where their business is, and right in the center of their belly. What happens is that urine comes out, you know, wethers, they don't have a stream of pee, they kind of have a dribble of pee. And what ends up happening, if they have a lot of hair around the base of that, what'll end up happening is the hair will become urine soaked, and it scalds or burns the skin around the base of that. And the way you'll notice is that it looks black. And the way to deter it, if you have a goat that has this, is that you actually shave that hair and then you put Vaseline on it. The Vaseline will give it a couple of days where the urine doesn't really touch the skin, which gives the skin time to repair. And when you shave that hair around, the hair basically works like a sponge that holds the urine against the skin and creates a more of a scalding. So that's something that I'm noticing. Now, once I get him on the stand, I'm going to assess, is it bad enough to actually put him through that, or are we close enough to spring now? He's going to start shedding and he should be fine. But I need to assess it. But again, without coming out and kind of taking a look at guys, now that I know I have urine scald or the potential of it in one of them, I'm going to be kind of looking at everybody closely. Hi, General. Good boy. Hair quality's good. He looks good. Yeah. I'm going to stand Slick up again because he's old. If anybody's going to show it, it's going to be him. Let me just look, Slick. Yeah, I'm not seeing any of it on Slick. Here is Rip. Rip looks good. Now this is the best coated goat in this weather pen. And you can see the difference. Hair is organized. He's really soft to the touch. Nice thick coat. He's looking beautiful. He's got a little bit of a yeast infection, but nothing that's a treatable level. Usually when you get a yeast infection that's treatable levels, what will happen is you'll see a little, you can see Slick's ear. So you can see the black around the edge, and when it gets bad, you can actually see it here. And when you rub their ear, you can hear squeak, because there's fluid in there. And they have a hard time getting it out, and the La Manchas are prone towards that. So we've looked at him. Let's look at Wolf. Hi, Wolfie. How you, bud? You're looking good. So again, great hair quality. This goat is also kind of exactly what we're hoping for. Great hair quality. No urine scald. Look at Riot. Riot looks good. This guy, I have been watching him. He's my skinniest goat out here. Hi, buddy. Hi. Chico boy. Chico boy. So he's a goat that is looking a little thin, but I think it's in his nature. He's always been a little hippy and bony, but this may be one. This is the thinnest goat. He may be one that I say, hey, let's get some poop samples on him and just make sure that he's not wormy. His coat is nice and glossy. He's signed up, so I know he's good on his mineral, but I would come out and kind of assess his body and say, hey, do we need to look at, you know, doing a little more. This guy's only 2 and he's already like 180 pounds and he's super tall. I don't know how tall he is, but this guy's gonna be one of those 230, 240, 40-inch tall wethers. He is awesome. So that's kind of my process, you guys. We have a little bit of homework to do on Blade. So we're gonna look at the urine scald thing, but this is what you should be doing. You should be coming out, assessing your herd, looking at everybody kind of in detail about once a week, checking everybody out, going, ooh, look at that, ooh, look at that. And then once you find something, then you need to see if that's throughout the herd, kind of like how that urine scald showed up with Blade. Nobody else had it, but he has it. So I hope you find that helpful. I wanted to be able to kind of brain dump as I walk through my herd to show you some of the things that I look for with these guys. And I hope you find that helpful. All right, take care.